So continuation of chapter 1, all about macroeconomics. This time we will be discussing all about graphs and different types of charts that we utilize in studying macroeconomics. Here we have a graph line. So what are the parts of graph line? We have here the intercept, the slope, the variable, the x-axis, and the y-axis. Intercept, ito yung point on a graph where a line crosses the vertical axis or horizontal axis. Ito siya, the intersection between the y and the x. Yan, ito yung intercepting line. Slope naman is the change in the vertical axis divided by the change in the horizontal line. Okay? Variable, a quantity that can assume a range of values. Ito yung mga nasa, ito yung, these are the different values. Okay? Say these are price value, different prices. As we go up, the price increases. Here we have the demand value. As we go outward, the demand value increases. X-axis, horizontal line, ito yon, usually represented by the demand or quantity. Y-axis naman, the vertical line, usually represented siya sa price. So interpreting slope. What the slope means? So there are different types of slope. How can we interpret it? So the slope is the change in the vertical axis divided by the change in the horizontal axis. Positive slope indicates that two variables are positively related. When one variable increases, so does the other, and one variable decreases, the other one also decreases. So yun yung positive slope. Example of this is the relation between the price and the supply. Okay? So if you can remember microeconomics nyo, the supply and demand analysis, okay, the relationship of demand or the relationship between price and supply is positive relation. Pagtaas ng price, paglaki ng supply. Pagbaba ng price, pagbaba rin ng supply. So example siya ng positive relation of a of demand and of supply and the price. On the other hand, yun naman negative slope is the change in the vertical axis divided by the change in the horizontal axis. Negative slope indicates that two variables are negatively related. When one variable increases, the other one decreases, and when one variable decreases, the other one increases. So example naman ito is the relationship between the price and the demand or the change in demand. When the price increases, the demand changes also. Magdi-decrease siya. But when the price goes down, the demand will be at its greater output. Pagtaas ng price, pagbaba ng demand. Pagbaba ng price, pagtaas ng demand. These two is negatively related. Okay? So yun, the positive and the negative slope. So how can we calculate slope? Calculating slope or the slope of a straight line between 2 points can be calculated in numerical terms. To calculate slope, andito na ako. To calculate slope, begin by designating a 1 point. Ito yon, kumbaga ito yung ating starting point. To calculate slope, begin by designating 1 point as the starting point and the other point as the end point. And then calculating the rise over run between these 2 points. So ang ating starting point here is 1 as represented here. Okay, 1 siya. The rise is, nag-rise siya hanggang sa 3. So the rise is 2. The rise is 2. Okay? Yun yung sa vertical axis or y-axis. Sa x-axis naman, ang starting point natin is 6. Nakatapat siya sa 6. Ang end point natin is 3. Nag-shift siya sa left. Okay? So dito, ang ating starting point is 1. Nag-end siya sa 3. Ang ating difference is 2. Dito, ang ating starting point is 6. Nag-end siya sa 3. Ang difference natin is 3. So how can we compute that? Slope is equal to rise over run. Madali lang siyang i-compute, no? So, ang rise dito is 2. run dito is 3. So, 2 over 3, yun yung sagot, yun yung slope curve na sinasabi. So, continuation, graphs of economic relationships are not always straight lines but often nonlinear or curved lines. So, yun siya. Oh. Yun siya. Pareho lang. So, type of graph line. So, type of graph na pwedeng gamitin, meron tayong line graph. So, what is line graph? Shows a relationship between two variables, one measured on the horizontal axis and the other measured on the vertical axis. Sometimes it is useful to show more than one set of data on the same axis. The data in the table below is displayed in Figure 1, which shows the relationship between two variables, length and the median weight for American baby boys and girls during the first 3 years of life. So, ito yung data, okay? This is the data. Meron tayong dalawang sources for boys and girls. Now, how can we interpret this? How can we show this using graphic lines? Ito yon. Okay, as you can see here, meron tayong dalawang slope for boys and girls. Okay, so pakicheck na lang kung ano yung mga figures dito. Kung ano yung figures dito, it should correspond dito sa narito. So, ano yung ating mga determining factors? On the vertical axis, ang ating determining factor is the weight. Okay? On the horizontal axis, ang ating determining factor is the length. Length in inches. Okay? So, what is the relation between the length and weight? Or what is the relation of length to weight? So, titingnan natin siya. No? By using this graph, mas madali nating i-represent to. Mas madaling tingnan compared to this one. Medyo mahirap siya. But by using this graph, mas madali. Okay? Yung isa dito sa boys, yung isa dito sa girls. So, i-check nyo na lang kung saan dyan. Okay? Basta as long as this line corresponds to this data, tama siya. Okay? So, meron din tayong pie graph na sinasabi. So, pie graph, sometimes called a pie chart, is used to show how an overall total is divided into parts. A circle represents a group as a whole. Ito yon, as a whole. Say, for instance, 100 students, for example. The slices of the circular pie shows the relative sizes of subgroups. Okay, so itong mga different colors na to, ito yung subgroups na sinasabi. Okay, this represents the whole group itself. Okay, the whole population itself, and these colored parts, ito yung division or yung mga factors na nagko-correspond naman dun sa data na kinuha mo. Say for instance, hindi ko na lang siya mabasa at medyo maliit na, okay? Say for instance, ito yung data for those students who have internet access na reliable, the yellow one. Okay, so ganun siya kalaki out of this population, ganun kadami ang may reliable source ng internet. Okay? The violet one, ganun kadami ang 50-50 or hindi ganun kaganda yung reliable source ng internet. And the blue one, it represents how many students do not have internet connections at all. So by using this, makikita natin yung difference between each data. According here, ang pinakamadami is, out of the whole population, ang pinakamadami ay yung students na merong reliable source ng internet connection. Yung 50-50, meron din, pero hindi ganun kadami. And at the last thing, yung walang internet connection, konting-konti na lang. So this is good para makita ng madalian, kasi kung figures yan, medyo mahirap pa. But by using graph or lines, it would be easier for us to determine immediately kung gaano kalaki in relation to other determinants. Okay? So, ang determinant natin dito is the internet connection. Yun yung pag-uusapan dito. For example lang naman yon. Okay? So, out of this population, ito yung division ng internet connection among those students. Kung meron, kung 50-50, or totally wala. Three pie graphs shows that the share of the US population, so explain ko na, pareho lang siya. Okay? So kung meron tayong graph, meron din tayong bar. Depende na lang kung anong mas flexible sa tingin natin. By using bars, ganun din. Okay, out of that population, ilan na merong internet connection? How many? Okay? How many yung 50-50 and how many yung hindi reliable ang internet connection? So bar graph use the height of a different bars to compare quantities. Okay? So syempre, pag gumawa ka ng bar graph, syempre magko-correspond siya dun sa data na in-input sa'yo. Okay? Huwag kang gagawa ng bar graph na hindi equivalent sa data na in-input sa'yo. Hindi siya reliable. Okay? Minsan naman kasi may mga application din naman sa ating computers na automatic na nag-generate na yung mga bar graph na to. Pag in-input mo yung ganun data, automatic siya na mag-generate na. So, it makes our job easier. Okay? Pero syempre, kailangan din natin yung purpose nun. Okay? Mas mahalaga din yung malaman natin kung bakit siya nagkaganon. Take this for instance, So iba't ibang figures, hindi magkakasing laki. Ayan. So how do you know which graph to use for your data? Would you use bar graph or pie graph? Tingnan natin. Bar graphs are easily useful when comparing quantities. For example, if you're studying the population at different bar graph, yun yung mga bars na mataas tsaka mababa, For example, if you are studying the population of different countries, bar graphs can show the relationship between the population sizes of multiple countries. Not only can it show these relationships, but it can also show breakdowns of different groups within the population. Ano naman yung pie graphs? Saan siya advisable gamitin? Pie graphs are often better than line graphs at showing how an overall group is divided. However, if a pie graph has too many slices, it can become difficult to interpret. So pag madami na siyang slices na halimbawa madami kang determinants. So medyo mahihirapan na. Okay sana kung 3 lang yung determinants mo or 4, medyo madali pa. But as you go along, habang dumadami yung determinants mo, dadami yung slices ng graph, medyo mahihirapan na rin tayong i-decipher kasi lumiliit siya ng lumiliit. Hindi siya magkakasinlaki. Yung iba malaki, yung iba maliit. So how do you know which graph to use pa rin? Line graph naman are often the most effective form for illustrating a relationship between two variables that are both changing. For example, time series graph. So ito. Make sure lang na each circle here, ito yung circle, ito yung mga determinants mo, ito yung mga figures na nakalagay dun sa table natin halimbawa. This circle represents each data na naka-enter dun sa table mo. Okay? Halimbawa, 7, dito siya papatak. Or 10, dun siya papatak. Or 12, dun siya papatak. Okay? Make sure lang na each data represents what is being stated or what is being computed dun sa table. So that's it, class. Madali lang siya, that's the conclusion of chapter 1. On Friday, magbibigay ako ng quiz or exercises for you to work on sa Friday. So for the meantime, please listen to the video and study. I will be leaving din naman the PowerPoint presentation sa ating Google Classroom. Okay, so thank you for listening and have a good day.